the idea of your loving me at all, to say nothing of loving me this way. But you do, and that's all I ask, here or hereafter." "Love you! Love you!" Their mutual embrace tightened, and her low voice thrilled brokenly as she went on. "Conway, dearest, I can't say a thing, but you know. Oh, Conway!" After a time Clio drew a long and tremulous but supremely happy breath as the realities of their predicament once more obtruded themselves upon her consciousness. She released herself gently from Costigan's arms. "Do you really think that there is a chance of us getting back to the earth, so that we can be together? Always?" "A chance, yes. A probability, no," he replied, unequivocally. "It depends upon two things. First, how much of a start we got on Nerado. His ship is the biggest and fastest thing I ever saw, and if he strips her down and drives her, which he will, he'll catch us long before we can make Tellus. On the other hand, I gave Rodebush a lot of data, and if he and Lem and Cleveland can add it to their own stuff and get that super ship of ours rebuilt in time, they'll be out here on the prowl, and they'll have what can give even Nerado plenty of argument. No use worrying about it anyway. We won't know anything until we detect one or the other of them, and then will be the time to do something about it." "If Nerado catches us, will you—" She paused. "Rub you out? I will not. Even if he does catch us, and takes us back to Nevia, I won't. There's lots more time coming on to the clock. Nerado won't hurt either of us badly enough to leave scars, either physical, mental, or moral. I'd kill you in a second if it were Roger. He's dirty, and he's thoroughly bad. But Nerado's a good enough old scout, in his way. He's big, and he's clean. You know, I really could like that fish, if I could meet him on terms of equality sometime." "I couldn't," she declared vigorously. "He's crawly and scaly and snaky, and he smells so... "So rank and fishy?" Costigan laughed deeply. "Details, girl, mere details. I've seen people who looked like money in the bank, and who smelled like a bouquet of violets that you couldn't trust half the length of Nerado's neck."
"But look what he did to us," she protested. "And they weren't trying to recapture us back there. They were trying to kill us."
"That was perfectly all right, what he did and what they did. What else could they have done?" he wanted to know. "And while you're looking, look at what we did to them. Plenty, I'd say. But we all had it to do, and neither side will blame the other for doing it. He's a square shooter, I tell you."
"Well, maybe. But I don't like him a bit, and let's not talk about him any more. Let's talk about us. Remember what you said once, when you advised me to let you lay, or whatever it was?"
Womanlike, she wished to dip again lightly into the waters of pure emotion, even though she had such a short time before led the man out of their profoundest depths. But Costigan, into whose hard life love of woman had never before entered, had not yet recovered sufficiently from his soul-shaking plunge to follow her lead. Inarticulate, distrusting his newly found supreme happiness, he must needs stay out of those enchanted waters or plunge again. And he was afraid to plunge, diffident, still deeming himself unworthy of the miracle of this wonder girl's love, even though every fiber of his being shrieked its demand to feel again that slender body in his clasping arms. He did not consciously think those thoughts. He acted them without thinking. They were inherent in his personality. "I do remember, and I still think it's a sound idea, even though I am too far gone now to let you put it into effect," he assured her, half seriously. He kissed her, tenderly and reverently, then studied her carefully. "But you look as though you'd been on a Martian picnic. When did you eat last?"
"I don't remember, exactly. This morning, I think."
"Or maybe last night or yesterday morning? I thought so. Bradley and I can eat anything that's chewable, and drink anything that will pour, but you can't. I'll scout around and see if I can't fix up something that you'll be able to eat." He rummaged through the storerooms, emergency with sundry viands from which he prepared a highly satisfactory meal. "Think you can sleep now, sweetheart?" After supper, once more within the circle of Costigan's arms, Clio nodded her head against his shoulder.
"Of course I can, dear. Now that you are with me out here alone, I'm not a bit afraid any more. You will get us back to the earth some way, some time. I just know that you will. Good night, Conway."
"Good night, Clio, little sweetheart," he whispered, and went back to Bradley's side. In due time the captain recovered consciousness and slept. Then for days the speedster flashed on towards our distant solar system, days during which her wide-flung detector screens remained cold. "I don't know whether I'm afraid they'll hit something or afraid that they won't," Costigan remarked more than once, but finally those tenuous sentinels did in fact encounter an interfering vibration. Along the detector line a visibeam sped, and Costigan's face hardened as he saw the unmistakable outline of Nerado's interstellar cruiser far behind them. "Well, a stern chase always was a long one," Costigan said finally. "He can't catch us for plenty of days yet. Now what?" For the alarms of the detectors had broken out anew. There was still another point of interference to be investigated. Costigan traced it. And there, almost dead ahead of them, between them and their sun, nearing them at the incomprehensible rate of the sum of the two vessels' velocities, came another cruiser of the Nevians. "Must be the sister ship, coming back from our system with a load of iron," Costigan deduced. "Heavily loaded as she is, we may be able to dodge her. And she's coming so fast that if we can stay out of her range we'll be all right. She won't be able to stop for probably 3 or 4 days. But if our super ship is anywhere in these parts, now's the time for her to rally round." He gave the speedster all the side thrust she would take. Then, putting every available communicator tube behind a tight beam, he drove it sunward and began sending out a long-continued call to his fellows of Triplanetary's Secret Service. Nearer and nearer the Nevian flashed, trying with all her power to intercept the speedster, and it soon became evident that, heavily laden though she was, she could make enough sideway to bring her within range at the time of meeting. "Of course they've got partial neutralization of inertia the same as we have," Costigan cogitated. "And by the way he's coming, I'd say that he had orders to blow us out of the ether. He knows as well as we do that he can't capture us alive at anything like the relative velocities we've got now. I can't give her any more side thrust without overloading the gravity controls, so overloaded they've got to be. Strap down, you two, because they may go out entirely."
"Do you think that you can pull away from them, Conway?" Clio was staring in horrified fascination into the plate, watching the pictured vessel increase in size moment by moment.
"I don't know, girl, but I'm going to try. Just in case we don't, though, I'm going to keep on yelling for help. In solid? All right, boat, do your stuff." End of chapter.